Hello, ladies and gents, welcome back. It's a Yelwonkk video, long time no see. It turns out when everyone goes on holiday in July in Starbreeze, I thought Yelwonkk might as well also go on holiday. There was a couple of things I wanted to touch on, but never anything substantial enough that I felt like it was worth taking to this channel. But today we have some pretty big news on a couple of fronts. The thumbnail might confuse you. We'll get to that in a minute. First and foremost, though, the most important thing for Payday 3 that's happening right now is the release of this Unreal Engine 5 performance beta, a little bit like what we've seen with Payday 2 and its new client. So this open beta is live the entire weekend. I believe it ends early on Monday. Hop on and give it a go. Effectively, what Starbreeze want right now from you is feedback in terms of how the game is performing in Unreal 5. So here are the things they're suggesting: graphical corruption, visual issues. You will see that. If you go to the Reddit, you will see some examples of that. Non-functional and problematic game settings. They're already aware that some things aren't working quite right. Significant frame rate drops while playing. That's going to change from machine to machine. It'll be interesting to see how they optimize this as well for console. Obviously, this is a Steam-only beta right now. It's going to release on console, though. Everything is going to stay in parity. Don't worry, guys. And then finally, difference in loading times. I don't know whether that's something they would anticipate. I assume that's due to some of the changes in lighting that's going to happen. So yeah, they want feedback on that. I think it's a sensible approach, not just to go live with the UE5 update. What this effectively is, for those of you who do hop on and give it a go, is it's an early August update build. We have some new update things in there that you can check out. It's not going to be a huge update. Obviously, the roadmap is not out yet, but just based on what we've been able to play inside this open beta, there's only a couple of new additions, and obviously that's because the UE5 upgrade has been the primary focus. All of this is information. I will be linking it down in the description if you want to give it a go yourself. It's how to actually check FPS, report it back to Starbreeze at the end of the day, how to get set up on the beta. For those of you wondering, it's a different backend. Funnily enough, it's one of the backends the partners have access to, so my account was already set at like 150 with a few extra infamy levels. That's not necessarily going to be the case for you guys at home, but this backend won't interfere with your main playing backend. It's strange, I know, a little bit confusing. You will be level 0, so in order to get to 150, you've got to do a smash and grab on Search and Seizure, play on normal, in loud, secure 6 bags, and you should be max level with a decent amount of money to spend to try out your builds and actually be able to play the heists on overkill rather than just doing them on normal. I've seen generally the feedback online has been pretty good. I myself have hopped on for a few heists. As I anticipated, I have a reasonably powerful machine. It's powerful enough for Payday 3 at the very least. I'd say it's pretty mid-range hardware now in terms of the grand scheme of things, but GPUs are expensive right now. I've not had any issues with it. I didn't have any issues with it when I played it at the Starbreeze Studio offices either. It's pretty much the same build, I would guess. Maybe some touch-ups of what we got to play then and there, but the big thing is the Cook-Off remake. It's not really a remake or a remastered heist. It's actually just a bit of a graphical touch-up, an alteration of heist time. More on that in a sec. But yeah, keep in mind, DLSS, basically all the upscaling things aren't currently working properly, I don't think, at least on the NVIDIA side of things. Anti-aliasing can't be fully disabled, so the game might look a little bit funny to you, even though obviously the update will change how things look. That's just UE5. And mod loader instantly crashes the game. This is something we should be a little bit concerned about, especially as PC players. Mods, again, a little bit like what's going on with Payday 2, are going to suffer. My hope and my expectation is that now the Sidetrack Games guys have such tight control over Mod Workshop, which is the primary modding platform for Payday, I would like to imagine this is going to be worked on quite quickly, and a lot of the major mods for Payday 3, obviously it doesn't have anywhere near as much of a modding scene as Payday 2 does. Hopefully they will quickly get updated, and I do know they're working with some of the major modders behind the scenes to try to allow that to happen, but the upgrade is going to break mods. You are going to have issues, and I think some players will be incredibly frustrated by that. It's unavoidable. I suppose the only way you could avoid it is by not doing this, and I see that online. UE5, obviously the elephant in the room is performance. You see some massively impacted performance on certain games. Some games that have released in UE5 looked excellent but barely ran. That's not been my experience playing Payday 3. In fact, I would say frame rate has been pretty much flat compared to what it was for me previously. In some cases, maybe some slight improvements. But from talking to the guys working at Starbreeze, it seems like lower hardware will struggle significantly more, whereas more moderate to high-end hardware will see some improvements due to this upgrade. So the rich get richer, I suppose. It's very Payday-like. Overall, I think it will be a good thing for the game if they can nail it, and I think, like I said earlier, that doing it through this beta is a sensible approach. The idea is that we'll no longer be running baked lighting with Payday 3, so instead it's going to be dynamic lighting, which might not sound very significant, and it might come with performance impact, like I mentioned. But what it will do is allow them to randomize the placement of assets and objects and entire rooms at times, which used to be sort of the key of Payday 2's randomization. It makes heists feel much more different, even if the RNG isn't actually that intense. It should enable them to do that on future heists and even with the remakes of heists we've been getting recently. So I think for the long-term future of the game, I understand why they want to do it. Whether this was a necessary approach, I don't know. Obviously, there's a ton of risk associated with it. But from the guys working there now, from talking to guys like Jonas, who was on a live stream around about this time last year, said some things that made people a little upset, like there's going to be no offline mode. But what that guy is a bit of a technical genius, really lifting up his ego there. But my understanding is he knows an awful lot more about video game engines than many of the people who were working there previously, and he's much more interested in the technology, and that includes actually things like Diesel engine, Payday 2's engine, obviously, and that's why we see a world where Diesel 3.0 is happening, because we have people working at Starbreeze now who are much more tech savvy, much more interested in how that can be improved and worked on. So I would say optimistically, from my own anecdotal experience, this feels pretty good, and that the possibilities it can add are quite significant. But also the risk and the potential damage it could do to modding, which is already a struggling scene for Payday 3, is not something I want to discredit in any way, and it's something to keep an eye out on. Also, this update changes how some heists look visually. So Cook-Off is getting the big improvement, which is that it's going to be taking place in the sort of late afternoon, early evening time. You're going to have God rays covering the heist. It does look really pretty. Atmospherically, amazing. It does change the vibe of the heist a little bit. But I think one of the key things to realize is with more of this RNG, with more of this new technology, the possibility of having a nighttime version of Cook-Off and an early evening version of Cook-Off is going to appear, right? I don't think nighttime Cook-Off is gone. The only version you're going to be able to play is the new version as of the August update, I suspect. But in the future, I think we will see both rotating and maybe some greater variety there, maybe some changes in weather, things that modders were looking to do a long time for the game actually finally happening. So the new Cook-Off looks beautiful. I much prefer it. I think visibility on that heist is bad at times, but I think it will be better if we can see a rotation of both. And the other thing to note is UE5 seems to have massively improved those moodier, more atmospheric heists just across the board. The heists I've played, Fear and Greed, Dirty Ice, they look absolutely fantastic. They have massively improved between the beta and the live version of the game. A little bit like we saw with the lighting revamps across things like No Rest for the Wicked. I haven't tried out every heist, by the way. These are just the ones that I've noticed, which kind of lent themselves to some improvements if the lighting came through. But yeah, Dirty Eyes, Fear and Greed, the outdoor atmosphere, the fog around Fear and Greed feels right now. Previously, it just felt like it was covering a skybox or a kill box. Now it actually feels like, yeah, this is the end of the heist as we get to the top, and there's a sort of miserableness to it, which I actually really like. So overall, my time with the beta has been a positive one. I want to hear how it's been for everyone else, because I'm sure there will be some mixed stories and some people who are barely on the cusp of being able to play the game in the first place, and this will push them over the edge, and UE5 will kill that ability. For the long-term future of the game, I understand why they're doing it, but there are some concerns. Now, on the brighter side of things, or I don't know, fun in a sense, maybe just as worrying actually now I think about it, we have some news with regards to Payday in Fortnite. Now, this has been a long-requested crossover. We obviously have the Roblox version of Payday, officially licensed notoriety, which is fantastic actually. It looks like they're going to do something similar with an external team working within the Fortnite game creation system, the map creation. I don't know how it works. My The thing I have to tell you guys is I've never played Fortnite. I've never installed Fortnite. I basically don't know what Fortnite is. Somehow, I completely avoided the Fortnite zeitgeist. However, I might just start playing it when this Payday collab comes out, because this studio, Ocean Wave Studio, which works entirely on these sorts of things, seems to be working alongside Payday officially, since it was retweeted, on a Payday roguelite mode. Now, the heist genre actually lends itself really nicely to roguelites. I think Rocket City is a great example of that, and I think the roguelite mode is when it comes to when it is at its strongest, I suppose. I mean, I enjoyed the storyline, I made a video on that recently, but really, roguelike is where all the intrigue is found. And Payday has always lent itself towards that. I would like to see more of an official integration there, something actually within Payday 3 would be nice. Obviously, this is just going to be within Fortnite, but we'll see what the studio can do with it. I'm going to go in with an open mind. I will finally install Fortnite, God save me. And we'll give it a go. I've got no idea when that's releasing, what's going on with it, but assumedly it is happening. It's not an official Fortnite collaboration. They're not working directly with those guys. I think long term the goal will be to. Obviously it's been something that's requested a fair few times over on the Twitter account. And I think that will be the end game of it. Let's just see how Dallas and Co do first in this roguelike experience. Let's see if it's any good, because I don't really know much about their track record, but as you can see from the thumbnail, their previous game was called Sigma 2 Tycoon. So I'm not going to get my hopes up, alright? But best of luck to those guys. Payday news is back. The guys are back in the studio. We have some Aces High things coming up next week, I think. There's some showcases going on. Lots to be excited about. I don't really know as far as Payday 3 is concerned what's going to happen. Obviously, this beta is going to finish. They're going to put some time and effort into improving what they can before the update's ready to launch. So I would expect late August before that happens. We've already been told mid to late August for a new roadmap. But content is still obviously on its way. And if the game is getting upgraded to UE5, I don't think you need to worry too much about development ending anytime soon. This seems to be a real long-haul project, and that's exactly what we were told when we were there in Stockholm. I just don't like necessarily taking things at face value, but so far the honesty that they've shown us has absolutely come to fruition. So, Payday, huh? What a world. Yelwonkk bringing you the news like I'm Red Archer Live or something. Those were the days, eh? Thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned on the main channel. The biggest video I've worked on since the story of Payday is coming out next week. I'm really excited for that. It's been a massive project, especially if you're a big fan of Payday 2 and the Death Sentence 1 down difficulty. Plenty to laugh at for you guys. Take care. See you very soon in the next one.